and welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. Years ago, I began recording the bedtime stories I told my children every night. Now, I'd like to share those stories with you. I hope you enjoy my Stories for Wonderful Children. There is a little girl named Winella, and she lives in a very special house full of many special rooms. But the most special room of all is Winella's room, because everything in it is pink and blue. The ceiling is pink and the walls are blue. Her cat is pink and her dog is blue. Everything in Winella's room is pink and blue except for the zebra. That's right, and what color is that? Purple! Yes, that is correct. Well, on this particular day, it was the day that Winella had asked Traci over for a sleepover. They had spent the afternoon packing Traci's things, and then they had come over and they had played fairy song. Winella's mommy had called them to dinner. Winella's mommy said that the night was Jello night at Winella's house. And so for dinner, all they had was Jello. They had red Jello and green Jello and blue Jello and yellow Jello. They had Jello with fruit in it and Jello with nuts in it, and they had sort of a Jello-y kind of pudding with beef in it. And Traci had never had that much Jello before, but she tried a little bit of everything. And she decided, much to her surprise, that her favorite was the Jello with beef in it. The Jello didn't have any flavor, but the beef sort of gave it a flavor, and it was all very it sort of melted on your tongue. It was very tasty. Now to drink, you can't really drink Jello very easily. So to drink, they had smoothies, and they each got to make their own smoothie. Winella went first. She picked out 3 kinds of fruit to make in her smoothie. Now, if you were Winella, Becca, what kind of fruit would you want in your smoothie?
Mango and blueberries.
Okay, mangoes, bananas, and blueberries. That's what she did. And then Traci picked out 2 kinds of fruit to go in her smoothie. Now, if you were Traci, what 2 kinds of fruit would you pick, Diana?
Strawberries and nuts and maize with
strawberries. What kind of fruit with the strawberries?
I'm thirsty.
All this talk of smoothies making you thirsty? Okay, well, so they both got all their fruit and they took it in to the blender, and they each got to press the button. And Winella's house, the blender, you press the button to turn it on, but once it's on, it doesn't run on electricity, it runs on music. And if you want it to blend up what you put in there, you have to sing. So, Winella put her fruit into the blender, she pressed the on button, and then to get it going to make her smoothie, she sang this little song. She sang, "I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Tip me over and pour me out." And the blender, while she was singing, went and she poured it out into a cup. And then it was Traci's turn. Traci put her strawberries and bananas in the blender, and then she sang a song to get the blender going. She sang, lightly row, step right up to lightly row. This is part 2, this is part 2, skip right up here for part 2. I'll stay home and play, then move. I'll stay home and play, then move. This is part 2, this is part 2, skip right up here for part 2. And Traci took her fruit and poured it into a cup. And then they both went back to the dinner table. They ate their Jello, they drank their smoothies, and while they were eating dinner, they got out Winella's Garfield books, and they read comics to each other. And Winella's mommy and daddy and Wally all thought that they were all very funny. After dinner, they decided Winella wanted to show her room. So they went up to Winella's room, and they took Traci's things up there, and Winella said, "Hey Traci, you want to play with some Lego?" And Traci said, "Sure." And so they divided the Lego up, and they both decided to make something. They decided that this time they weren't going to make a big machine like Winella did last time she played with her Lego. Instead, this time they decided that they were going to make Lego in the shape of roller skates. So they took pieces and they made roller skates, and they put little motors on the roller skates, and they made them big enough to go on their feet, and then they stood on them and they said, "Go!" And the Lego skates went going, and they just rolled around the house. They rolled into Wally's room and said, "Hi, Wally!" Ah! And then they rolled down the stairs, and they rolled down to where the purple wish dragon was.
How do they roll down the stairs?
Well, these are Lego skates. They just went boom, 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 boom. But they didn't go, like real skates, if you tried to go down the stairs, they would go too fast and slip out from underneath you and you'd get hurt. But Lego skates are sort of smart. They have brakes on them so that they don't go too fast. And so they went down the stairs. They saw May Sarah Figment, who thought that the Lego roller skates were a great idea. And they said, "Well, we'll have to take them back off now to get back upstairs." And May Sarah said, "No, you won't." And she sprinkled them with wishing powder, and they became flying Lego roller skates. And they just floated up the stairs and floated up the stairs till they got back to Winella's room. And then Winella and Traci decided that before it was time for bedtime snack, they were going to get their pajamas on. So they changed into their pajamas, and Traci had brought her glow-in-the-dark pajamas. When the lights were on, they just looked like an ordinary pink pair of pajamas. But when you turned off the lights, they glowed with her name. It said Traci down each sleeve and once across her chest. And Winella said, "Wow, that's really cool, Traci." And Traci said, "Well, let's see your pajamas, Winella." So Winella put on her nightgown, and it was pink and blue, but as you watched it, the colors shifted. So when Winella first put it on, the right sleeve was pink, and the chest was blue, and the bottom was sort of pink, and as you watched it, the pink spread up to the chest, and the blue spread down the arms, and then the blue spread down the back, and the pink started to spread down the back after it, and it was wild to watch because the nightgown just shifted colors as you watched. And Traci said, "Wow, Winella, your nightgown makes me a little dizzy just to look at it." And Winella said, "Oh, I think I hear my mommy calling." And it was her mommy. Her mommy was calling them down to have a special bedtime snack.
What was the special bedtime snack? What was the special bedtime snack?
And when they got down there, her mommy said, "Okay, here's your special bedtime snack." And she handed them 3 things. She handed them marshmallows and little pieces of chocolate and graham crackers. And Winella said, "Oh, cool, s'mores." And Traci said, "What's a s'more?" And Winella said, "A s'more is where you take chocolate and a marshmallow and put it between 2 graham crackers and you heat it up so the chocolate and the marshmallow melt and get really soft." And Traci said, "That sounds like fun, but where are we going to melt it?" And Winella said, "This is a bedtime snack that we do with May Sarah Figment." So they went downstairs, and Winella had these long sort of grabbing forks, and they put the marshmallow on the graham cracker, and they put the chocolate on the graham cracker, and they put it inside
the graham cracker's gonna get burned.
A little bit, it'll get toasty. And they held it out, and May Sarah Figment would blow out a little stream of flame. And it would toast the marshmallow just right so it got sort of soft and gooey on the inside, and the chocolate would start to just melt over the top of the marshmallow. And then before it cooled down, they'd pop it into their mouth. And it was so good. It was just delicious. And after they finished their bedtime snack, then they went upstairs to brush teeth. And Winella, as you may remember, has a bunch of different toothbrushes. She has one of every color of the rainbow. And all she has to do is she opens her mouth and she puts the toothbrush in, and the toothbrush does all the rest of the work. She doesn't have to move it or anything. It just bristles come out all over and clean her teeth. Traci's toothbrush is a toothbrush that is not actually a brush that you hold on to. She has a little sort of robot bug kind of looking thing. And she just opens her mouth and she puts it inside, and the little robot crawls around inside her mouth and scrubs all her teeth off for her. And then when she's done, she spits it out into the sink, rinses it off with some water, and then it crawls back into her bag until she uses it the next night. And then it was time for the girls to go to bed. So they went and they got into bed. And after they turned out the lights, they told each other secrets. And they told each other secrets for some time until they started to get tired and their eyelids started to get droopy. And they drifted off to sleep. And that's the end. Tomorrow I'll tell you about what they did when they woke up.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created, told, and edited today's story. Questions and witty commentary were supplied by my children. The music was composed by Brandon Thompson. If you enjoy the show, please tell someone about it, or leave a review on your podcast provider. Our email is storiesforwonderfulchildren@gmail.com. You can also contact us on Facebook or Twitter. I'll see you next time.